So somebody, oh sorry, yeah, that's it. You are being recorded. So for you, all of you that don't know who I am, my name is Kelly, and I am the membership development manager for the Kent Invicta Chamber. We have Molly Hall with us, who puts on these wonderful events for us. Kaz Mackling, who is my partner in crime, and we also have Adam here today, and this is Adam's first day, so yeah, good luck, Adam. Right, so today we have John Walter here from Questae Collective. It's obviously about how to boost your mental health, and really I'm going to hand over to John now just to speak about what the purpose of today is, you know, and what he can bring to businesses and how he can support you within business, for you and both your employees. So yeah, over to you, John. You know, what is the purpose of Questae Collective?
Great question. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Kelly. Molly, thank you for getting me involved in this as well, and everybody at the chamber. So let me just share my screen. That is probably the easiest way to do that. So can everybody see what I'm seeing? Okay, yes. So that's our holding page. So, okay, who are we? And first technical issue, the keyboard is frozen. So I'm going to go the old-fashioned way. And so, that's not working either. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
There we go.
Hey, technology. Right, so who we are, what do we do? So, Questae Collective. Essentially, we work with organisations, work with them to create specifically tailored 360 wellness strategies. The aim is to promote and develop positive, healthy, sustainable wellness cultures within businesses. It's a big topic of conversation right now, people's mental health. A lot of people are talking about feeling frazzled, worn out, zoomed out, zoned out, all sorts of things. There's a lot of anxiety about returning to the office. What is the office going to look like? And so on and so forth. But also, it doesn't just touch on what we do during the work. There's a lot of concern about everything that's going on at home. People have been moving and thinking about moving, and homeschooling for parents who've had to go through that absolute hell. So Questae Collective is the two of us, Sophie Higgins, my business partner, who is a nutritional therapist, and myself. My background is I've had last 30 years in commercial corporate interior design. So very much working with organizations to help design their working environments. And that's going from sort of multi-billion-dollar blue chip organizations globally, all the way down to local businesses as well. But it was always about people and designing around space. So a little bit about my background, as I say. I mean, we set up Questae because of our own personal experiences. So 30 years working in the corporate world, there was toxicity, a lot of masculine toxicity. There was a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. And essentially, I went through my own mental health journey. I've always had mental health challenges, never really saw them. Then 6 years ago, I got a bit of a whammy when I got diagnosed with cancer. And then came through cancer, which actually, that was when I got the all clear, was when the problems started. Then unexpectedly, my marriage broke down. That actually threw me into a very, very dark place, suicidal thoughts. And I was very lucky that I had a fantastic career, which I threw myself into. But at the weekends that I didn't have my children, it was a very, very dark place. And I really, through my experiences and getting myself out of that darkness, I wanted to share my experiences and essentially, sort of by sharing my experiences, help other people to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how dark a place can be. A little bit like today, you know, the clouds are there. It's a gloomy day, but the sun is shining somewhere above, and it's just a case of seeing through the clouds and getting to that sun. And that's what really brought me into well-being. Because of my career in the office interior world, I started to get more interested in office culture and how culture and the competing values within a business would help to shape an organization and the well-being of the people. And the conversations became more around that. I started employing and bringing people in to talk about things like mental health advocacy, mental health support in the workplace, mental health first aid, but then also everything that comes around well-being. Sophie went through a similar, she was in a corporate background. She actually did law at university, worked in a management consultancy firm, same thing, a lot of workplace toxicity, expected to be in at 8, expected to leave at 8, and then expected to go to the pub, and plus a commute. She experienced corporate burnout. She then experienced an eating disorder, a very severe eating disorder. And it was through her recovery that she became interested in food, ironically enough, became a nutritional therapist. And that's how we got together a couple of years ago as friends. And just at the beginning of lockdown, we were sat on Margate steps and literally came out with the question, what can we do to actually help to boost people's mental well-being?
Brilliant. John, can I just stop you there? Yeah. Just for everybody else. So we want this to be as engaging as possible. So if you have any questions that you want to direct to John, if you can use the chat function, I'm sure you're all familiar with that, then I will direct those, or I will ask you to unmute yourself, and so you can pop them questions forward to John. So just to stop us all talking at the same time, if you can use the chat function, that I'd really appreciate that, and then I will ask you to unmute. Thanks, John.
No worries. So you can see a statistic up there, I think, because I think just as I pointed out, I think it's pretty fair to say there's been a pretty big shift in the last 12 months, and that shifting sands is just continually moving. So the Mental Health Foundation have a survey which is continuing. It's done. It's a rolling program, and some of the statistics that are coming out are pretty frightening. I mean, some of these have been going back for years. You know, people will phone up and say they've got a poor tummy, when actually they're just feeling burnt out. But what we're trying to do is get organisations to accept that actually people saying that they feel burnt out is not a weakness. It's actually should be seen as a super strength to actually have that strength to actually be honest. So that's the people, but actually when they interviewed and surveyed the managers, do you know what? The same statistics started coming through, and actually they felt that taking time off due to mental illness was just not accepted. You know, you can see the statistics there. You know, if it was illness or injury, people would take it more seriously. Whereas, you know, if we're feeling burnt out and run down, that should be taken just as seriously, if not more. So beautiful Margate, when the sun is out, that was the question that both Sophie and I asked ourselves. What can we do with all the resources that we found over the years? And that really has brought us on to creating Questae Collective. So Questae is Sophie and I. The collective is an amazing group of professional and individuals who specialize in their own various fields of well-being. So we look at all elements of the well-being, pillars of well-being, for which there are 8. But today, what we wanted to talk about was actually mental resilience and looking after ourselves wherever we're working, whether it be home, whether it be agile, or whether it be in the office. So wellness and well-being are 2 words that you hear interlinked a lot. Wellness, we believe, is actually an active process of becoming aware of and then making choices towards a healthy lifestyle. It's more than just being free from illness. It is a dynamic process. And it's a complete physical, mental, and social process as well. Not just being free from disease. That's our take. But today we're going to be looking and just sharing some life hacks, tips, tricks, and easy takeaways. And we're going to talk about what is often referred to as the happiness hormones. These 4: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, which are great when they work, but how can we actually get them to start working How can we get them actually flowing ourselves? So if we start here at dopamine, this is a neurotransmitter. It's a chemical messenger, essentially, carries information throughout our whole nervous system. It's basically our internal communication system. Low dopamine, so there'll be a few ahas. I know that you'll see this. Low dopamine will contribute to us feeling lethargic, memory loss, lack of motivation, sometimes depression. But when it's synthesized, it actually works the other way around. It can really create feelings of pleasure, reward. It increases focus, concentration, motivation, and it boosts mood, which has an effect. So what can we do? What can we all do to get our dopamine flowing naturally? Well, eat nutritious foods, such as eating the rainbow, healthy fats, avoid processed sugar, and rich foods. One of the talks that we do is on boosting our energy during the day. And we've probably all experienced the 3 p.m. slump after lunch. And a lot of people will reach out for the Coke and the Mars bar or the Red Bull, which gives us that immediate kick. But of course, because it's processed, it's rich in sugar, it gives us that up, but then we have a crash. So it's actually avoiding those foods, but finding alternatives. That will help then to boost our gut health. Probiotics, fermented foods, which are really good, artichoke, onions, anti-inflammatory, leafy greens, and of course, drink water. That will then help to give us restful sleep. It's a real, Ferris wheel, really, this whole thing with nutrition. But actually, once you get your gut health, you'll start getting much better, more restful sleep. And that means that our body gets the time it needs to rest, repair, digest. And that essentially means when we wake up in the morning, we're feeling alert. And I'm sure there are many of us here who have woken up in the morning, struggled to wake up in the morning because we're feeling sluggish, we're feeling low, we're still feeling tired. And actually, it's worth thinking about what you ate that previous day, because that will have an effect. Exercise, you'll hear Joe Wicks talking about getting up in the morning and doing an exercise. For some people, that's just a no-goer. Exercise it has to be forced. So it's finding ways of introducing exercise into the day. And I don't mean having to do a hardcore HIIT workout. It could be just walking around the block. Whilst we've been working from home, the one thing that people have lost is that commute. Walk to the station, the walk to the bus, even a walk across the car park or up the stairs. So just add in some exercise. Walk to the shops, walk a little bit quicker, walk up the stairs more often, and just get around. And that will actually help to get dopamine flowing. Another way to do it, dopamine will start getting flowing if you start listening to your favorite music. So it'll give you, you know how it is, if you play something that you enjoy, that will give you pleasure. Well, that pleasure is because the dopamine is starting to flow. So listen to your favorite music. Meditation is a great way of getting dopamine flowing. And a meditation doesn't mean sitting there going and zoning out. Meditation is actually just accepting the then and the now, and actually collecting your thoughts and writing them down. And there's many ways to meditate, but whether it's 5 minutes to 20 minutes or even an hour, whatever's good for you, it's great. Guided meditations are great, such as Insight Timer and Headspace, which are apps that you can get for your phones. And they're really helpful, very quick, very short, but you feel energized and refreshed afterwards. Get out in the sun, a bit challenging in Kent at the moment, but even just a short 20 minutes during the middle of the day, it boosts our vitamin D. Which is essential for our immune health, which is really important right now, our bone health, our cognitive health, but also our overall mood. So all these little things will just help to get the dopamine flowing. And we've then got the love drug, which is oxytocin, or the cuddle hormone that people talk about. This plays a huge part in how we bond how we feel. It's actually the hormone that's released during childbirth that helps us to actually bond with the child. So what can we do to get oxytocin flowing? Well, kissing, touch, cuddling, sex is a great way to get oxytocin flowing. Yoga, connecting yourself from a physical, mental, and spiritual point of view, but also get the oxytocin flowing. And there's going to be some repeating here. Listen to the music you love. So get that music on again, whether it be calming, energizing, whether it invokes memories. Music will raise your vibration. It changes us. It changes how we feel in just so many ways. Get or give a massage. If anyone is down here in the Kent area, there's Higgins is just one of the most amazing places to visit, and neck, shoulder massage, not a lot of money, and honestly, you just come out floating. There'll be places all over the place, but getting or giving a massage is just such an awesome way of getting oxytocin flowing. This might sound obvious, but not many people know that if you just tell somebody how much you love them or how much you care for them, and that could be a child, it could be a partner, it could be a sibling, it could be a parent, that actually gets our own oxytocin levels flowing, but it also gets theirs flowing as well. And then spend some time with the people that you love as well. Meeting them on a bench for a coffee, meeting them out for a walk, whatever you're allowed, whatever you feel comfortable doing. Those two there have such a huge part in getting oxytocin. And for those of you who've got pets, have a cuddle with your pet. You know what it's like when you come home and your dog's jumping up and down and giving you that, unquestionable love and affection. That is because that joy that they give you raises your oxytocin levels. And it's all these things, they sound so simple, yet if we just think about them and actually engage in them, that will help to boost our mental resilience. So then we have serotonin. So this is the happy hormone that you probably hear about the most. It is a neurotransmitter. It stabilizes mood. It helps us to improve sleep. It may help to alleviate depression and anxiety. It contributes to feelings of happiness and overall well-being. Many functions and effects of serotonin are felt throughout the entire body system. And actually, if we think about what I said about gut health before, the majority of serotonin is actually produced through the gut. So actually having a healthy gut will help that serotonin to be produced and help that neurotransmitter to actually send the messages of positivity throughout the body. If anybody is thinking this is a bit woo-woo, wah-wah out there and a bit hippy-chicky, it's actually based on science and fact. And I would just encourage you just to try the bullet points that I've noted and see how you feel from them. So what can we do to get serotonin flowing? Well, get out in nature, bask in the sunshine when we get some, but just get out in nature. We are in the Garden of England, so we're blessed with some of the most beautiful nature, country walks, castles for cows with alpacas. There's so many ways of just getting out into nature. And you know what? Sometimes that could be just standing, looking out of your window and looking at a tree or watching the clouds go by. But getting outside, looking outside, getting some natural sunlight, again, it's that vitamin D, and it does wonders for the mood. Regular exercise, as I say, doesn't have to be hardcore hits or going out for marathon runs. It could be walking the dog, just going out for a walk. Go out for a walk, go and meet somebody, tell them how much you love them. Double bubble. Eat a healthy, balanced diet. There will be a lots of touching on nutrition here. Now, I'm not saying to people, don't go out and get fish and chips and sit on the side and have a beer. That would just be ridiculous to say that. Some people choose that life. I don't, but I do eat healthily. And I'm very conscious of what I eat to help boost my moods and to boost my gut health, because I know that is something that's so important. So a rich variety of nutrients, vitamins and minerals. And of course, that's going to boost our gut health, which is so important for the neurotransmitters to work. Meditation, we touched on that before. And of course, engaging in positive activities that you love. So make sure that you're actually making the time to actively engage in these activities that you love. If you know that they bring you joy, do them, even if it's just for 5-10 minutes. And if you're like me and you work to an absolute, regimented diary during the day, block out some space in the diary just to go for that walk, even if it's 5 minutes, or do something you like. But make sure that you do engage them, and actually bring out that carefree inner child that's inside us, and make sure that you allow yourself some time to be that inner child and find it again. And regular good sleep. And I know this is a really, really tough one for a lot of people, is getting that regular, good, healthy sleep. But engaging in everything that we've just been talking about will help so much to get that regular sleep. And with the guided meditation, for those of you who find falling asleep difficult, the guided meditations that I touched on, they're a really good way of actually bringing the body's system down into rest, digest, and recuperate. So then we have my personal favorite, which is endorphins. Now, these are produced by the pituitary gland and the central nervous system. The endorphins are what give us the highs, those big highs that we experience after a bit of exercise, or something that gives us real joy. But there's so much more to this really amazing little chemical. It gives us pleasure, but it also reduces discomfort and pain. It's a real survival chemical. So what can we do to boost endorphin production? Well, exercise is obviously a great one. For anybody who does exercise, I'm sure you've sometimes got home or got up in the morning and thought, oh God, I've got to go to the gym. I really don't face this. And then you go and you come back and go, I'm so glad I did that. And that is because those endorphins have actually been engaged, as well as the oxytocin and the serotonin. So all those hormones are rushing around your body and bringing you a real natural happiness and positive mood. So exercise. Dancing, we touched on getting your favorite music, stick on a bit of Duran Duran or a bit of Wham or whatever you're into. If it's not 80s, it's not music, and dance around your living room in your pants. I do. Anybody who sees me on Instagram will see my Friday nights. I love getting up with the kids and we just have a big boogie, and that just lifts everybody so much, just dancing around. Obviously, engaging in sexual activities will also bring out the endorphins, as well as the serotonin, the oxytocin.
Perhaps it was
orgasms will bring out endorphins as well, and that's that high that you feel after you've engaged in that. And don't forget, serotonin is then brought out in oxytocin by telling somebody how much you care for them, which you normally do during engaging in sex. Laughter is great. So we touched on engaging in things that you like to do, things that actually bring you pleasure. Well, sticking on Monty Python or your favorite comedy film, or my daughter watches Friends. When she's feeling down, she just sticks on an episode of Friends because it gets her laughing and it gets her absolutely, she's rolling around. So do something, enjoy something that pleases you. Meditation can also, we talked about endorphins being engaged when you exercise, but endorphins can also be engaged when you meditate, which is actually remaining still. So, it is an amazing, amazing happy hormone, and amazing chemical. Have a little bit of chocolate. Chocolate is good for you, unless you devour the entire bar, but chocolate will actually help you raise your endorphins. Dark chocolate, 80% dark, is really good. Just a couple of chunks of that, and that will actually help to boost your endorphins as well. What's your favorite TV show? Touched on my daughter watching Friends. I like a bit of Monty Python or Not the 9 O'Clock News, or anything that just makes me laugh. Normally watching Manchester City getting beaten, that makes me laugh as well. And then, of course, for anybody who is looking at that one, more orgasms. Great way of actually getting those happy hormones flowing. So that's the happy hormones. That's just sort of a few ideas to get those natural chemicals, the hormones and neurotransmitters flowing, how to engage them. And that will help us to remain cognitively connected, engaged, motivated, and productive. And if during the day you do feel just that little bit of sluggish, just remember back to what I've just said. If you're feeling a little bit low, stop what you're doing, go for a walk, or stick on the music, or stick on something that you know, do something that you enjoy. It will bring you pleasure, and then you're back to get back on it, and it'll help us to rest, recuperate, relax, digest, and smile. So
John, we just have a question.
yeah,
Sorry about my laughing, everyone there, because I put my favourite, and then of course, you know, the things that come after did make me giggle.
that's all right.
And I was not on mute, so thanks, Molly, for muting me. So we have a question here from Martin. He has said, I'm interested in how, as a team leaders, we utilise or can promote the endorsement of these pillars in our workday culture, supporting colleagues. So how would you suggest this is delivered to perhaps our employees?
It's a really good question, and I'm really glad that question has been answered. It's really difficult to answer in one sentence. It's about changing culture from top down. The successes we've seen is when the leadership teams actually work with us to look at strategies to help engage their staff members and allow their staff members to feel secure in engaging in these kind of activities. It's no good just doing one talk and then hoping everybody just takes away. It's actually part changing the culture and actually allowing people to feel comfortable in their workplace, to feel comfortable speaking to their managers or to their colleagues about mental health challenges, health challenges, or anything else. The 8 pillars of well-being are so important. And if you imagine, they're like a plate. And if those 8 segments, if one of them is slightly out of balance, the whole plate wobbles. So we enable people and empower people to understand which element of that plate might need balancing. And it's not that we can repair it. What we can do is bring them the resource to help themselves to repair. We can signpost, but engaging with the team is, you know, really important. Get them talking, get them open. Talks like this are important, but probably a little bit later down the line. It's all about changing that culture and getting those people to understand what those 8 pillars are. It's a bit of a long-winded answer to what should be really, really simple, but
thanks, John. It makes perfect sense, and it's a process, isn't it? It's a process rather than an event.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's not something you can just do in a month. It's something that, you know, you need to look at a strategy, you know, and actually map it out. One of the things that we do is actually we engage with our clients straight away and we measure their happiness. And, you know, this is a very, very quick tool that allows us to actually identify all 8 pillars and where staff members are within the, you know, their well-being, what we call the quirkle. Which is the 8 pillars of well-being. So we can engage and then actually address that with the leadership team and say, this is where you are now. And these are the areas that we should focus on. These are the areas that we would say need a priority. And then we would re-engage that check-in maybe 3 months later. And actually that way we can actually measure success. You know, we've got the KPIs that we can then refer back to. And then we continue with that process, and it's ongoing. Most companies do an engagement survey, but then they do nothing with it. They just go, oh yeah, people think our brand's great, woohoo, but that's it. You know what this does, it actually doesn't look at the company or the brand, it looks at the people. How are you feeling? What makes you feel good? What can we bring you to help you feel safer, more valued, and more resilient when you're in the workplace. So
and of course, you know, that helps people's productivity, doesn't it, within work? So, you
massively.
know, it's actually quite a clever thing for businesses to be doing with their employees.
Yeah, they are. The statistics are out there. You know, the financial directors of this world always monetize it. You know, okay, well, if we're going to invest in this, what's our return? What do I get back? You know, and it is simple. We are going to reduce sick days. We are going to increase productivity. People are going to be more engaged. We're going to understand the different personalities. I mean, there are 4 main personalities in any workspace, and you know they will always clash. And workspaces are often designed for everybody. Well, one size never fits all. So you're always going to have, different ends of the spectrum. So it's respecting that and understanding that. And when we do we do workshops on team building, we just see so many aha moments where you go, I get it. And you can suddenly see why you can't communicate, or you're struggling to communicate with a certain individual, because you're two different personalities thrown into the same workspace and the same environment, doing a similar job, trying to come up with a solution, but you're seeing it from different. So it's really important that people actually engage with other people and see it from their viewpoint and other people's viewpoint.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, John.
Okay, not a problem. I mean, any questions that I'd be happy to talk through it with anybody. So if we just look at a few pointers of overall well-being and mental resilience. If we're working remotely, working from home, when we're back in our workplace, what can we do? I call it my resilience toolkit. This is what I built up over the years, and Sophie did as well. And this is why we're so keen to share it with everybody, because if it's just one little extra tool that goes in your toolkit, then, it isn't that great. So firstly, let's think about our workspace. Now, the workspace could be your dining table, your kitchen, your bedroom. It could be in an airport, a train station, or in your office. So if we think about all the different places and the different setups that we need when we're working, and how to recreate wherever we are, here are just some really, really simple tips. So we're going to look at workspace, we're going to touch on nutrition, and then we're going to look at overall resilience. So posture is a great one. It's something, our physical health and our well-being is absolutely directly connected to our mental well-being. So reminding ourselves of that is super, super important all the time. So wherever and whenever you are sitting down, please be mindful of your posture. And you may have had ergonomists come into the workplace and help you set up your task chair or your desk. A DSE assessment may have been done so that's with the screen, but that's all about setting the workspace up. It's not about setting yourself up. So always keep yourself sat straight. If you're like me, you're sat on a dining chair at a dining table, stick a cushion behind your back just to help you. If the device is on a coffee table, or we're on a sofa, just try and keep our knees in line with our hips. If we have the device on our laps, put a cushion in between because it provides a great barrier. Stand up regularly. Use your device. Set your alarm for every 20 to 30 minutes, and then just stand up and have a stretch out. And actually, some people use ironing boards to work. And that just helps you to stand up and actually stretch out and do stretch yourself out. One of the talks that we do is actually on movement, and it's sort of 20 minutes talking about the physics, the physics, and then a good 20, 30 minutes actually doing some exercise. And these are exercises that you can do in the office, you can do anywhere, because you can do them sat down, you can do them stood up. You're not doing press-ups or push-ups, it's just stretches. I'm sure we've all found ourselves hunched over our laptops or hunched over our device like this. And then you get, oh God, my neck's really sore. So it's just being really mindful of how we are sat. Screen time. So these screens, okay, we're meant to be looking at our screens all day, right? That's basically our job. But if you can move every 20 to 30 minutes, you're also taking your eyes away from the screen. The screens are not good for us. They emit blue light. So that actually, will keep us on our fight or flight mode. So it keeps us alert. It's bad for our eyes. I'm sure you've all gone like that at the end of the day and thought, oh my God, my eyes are killing me. We've got a team of optometrists on the collective, and we were having a conversation with them, and they were talking about eye strain. And I asked the question, well, what's the long-term prognosis on this? And she said, really good, which really shocked me, because I was expecting her to say it's really bad. But she said, no, just take yourself and look outside the window for 20 seconds and your eyes will readjust. So it's really important to be considerate of the screen time. And I know with some people, it's really easy to get sucked into the screen. Before you know it, 2.5, 3 hours have just flown by. So do set those alarms and just get up, stretch, move out. There's something we call the 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, look out of the window at something 20 meters away for 20 seconds. And that is enough time to give you a little bit of vitamin D. So your oxytocin and serotonin is going to be raised. You've got that vitamin D, that's great for us, but your eyes have also adjusted. And for anybody who doesn't know, all devices have got what's called night light, which actually reduces the level of blue light that is emitted from the screens. It's well worth switching your night light on permanently. All my devices have got permanent night light, and I do find that that really helps. And then movement. I've talked, get up, move around, stretch around, screen time, but movement is so important as well, to actually sort of shake out those shoulders when you feel the knots in your neck, actually learning to actually give them a stretch and moving around and just getting ourselves energized. And actually, do you know what that does as well? Raises our endorphins, it gets our heart rate going, even if it's just by 1 or 2 beats per minute. That's great. So be really conscious and aware of what our workspace is doing to us. It's all very well having screens and separate keyboards and blah, blah, blah. But what are you doing for you? So then we have the nutritional side of it. So I'm just going to touch on nutrition, but it is really, really important, because you've heard me talk before about compromised or suboptimal gut health and how that can affect our well-being. So what we eat affects every single element of our body systems, immunity, cognition, digestion, our nervous systems, absolutely everything. Bag of chips is fine, but a bag of chips every day isn't too fine. So just be mindful. So what are some of the things that we should be mindful of when it comes to our nutritional intake? Well, energy levels, you heard me mention the afternoon slump. Energy levels need to be and should be consistent throughout the day. So our blood sugar levels need to be balanced. So try to avoid foods that are processed or high in refined sugar, drinks that are high in caffeine, because that will spike our blood sugar, give us a quick energy boost, but then it'll crash straight afterwards, sending us into an energy dip. So we reach for more. Our body then starts to crave sugar. So we've got imbalanced energy. So these spikes and crashes, they signal the release of cortisol. Okay, that's a stress hormone, which is okay from time to time, but that stress hormone comes from the adrenal glands. It means our flight or fight response is activated. So, and that means that our happy hormones that we've been talking about, they get dampened or inhibited. So really important to think about what we're eating. So ensure that your meals and your snacks contain healthy fats, protein, complex carbs, not your simple carbs like chips, because that will help to stabilize your blood sugar. It'll keep us fuller for longer. And it means that that dreaded 3 p.m. dip is a thing of the past. When we go back into the offices, lunchtime, easy, you run down to prep, you grab a sandwich, fill yourself full of sugar and bread, and then you feel really sluggish. So really think about the things, eat the rainbow, get more nutritious foods into us, and that will help us to stay fuller and more energized for longer. So, forgot to move on. Hydration is the next thing. So get ourselves hydrated, such an important one. And I can't stress this. So our body is 65% water. It's being used constantly. So we do need to keep replacing it. So keep drinking water. And we need water to actually to function optimally. It keeps our bones healthy. It keeps our joints healthy, keeps our brain functioning. And it's also a big part of our detoxification pathways. So we need to be drinking 1.5 to 2 liters worth of water a day. Now that sounds like a lot in one go, and it is. But if you break it down over a period of the day, get a little bottle that you can just sip on, it's great. And can I just point out that caffeine, so tea and coffee, does not count towards the 1.5 to 2 liters. This is because caffeine acts as a diuretic, so it makes us go to the toilet more. So as soon as we ingest it, virtually within half an hour to an hour, we're losing it. So we need to keep that replenished. Caffeine's a huge, that's a big subject. And it's something that can often shock people when they think about how much caffeine they take in. I tend to have 1 coffee a day. If I have 2, the second will be decaffeinated. We all work different ways, or our metabolisms work differently. But I know if I have caffeine after 12 o'clock, I will not get a good night's sleep. So, and I always make sure that if I've had a cup of coffee, I have 2 additional cups of water, fresh water. Or if you don't like fresh water, because the water down in Kent is gopping, is just add some fresh lemon or fresh lime or a bit of cucumber. That's a nice way of just adding it. And then you can see their good digestion. If you feel things like bloating, or if you're getting gas, constipation, diarrhea, reflux, or any sort of abdominal discomfort, that may indicate that your digestive system is not acting or functioning as well as it could be. So we need to remember that serotonin, 90% of serotonin comes from the gut. So you won't get it if your gut is compromised. So really think about what you eat, because that can have a huge impact on mood, brain health, and then of course our resilience and our overall well-being. So little things like not eating on the go. I know some of these are really tough, and I always get the thing, oh, but I'm always on the go. So am I, and sometimes it really is difficult. But chew your food properly. Try to sit down. I sound like my dad now. Chew your food properly. Try and sit down and eat when you do. Eat away from our screens, and I know that's difficult sometimes. But do try and just take that time away to sit down and enjoy the food that you're eating, and look at what you're eating. So avoid those processed and sugar-rich foods. Drink the water, get that digestive system. Avoid constant snacking throughout the day, because that keeps our gut working all the time. And like any part of our body, it needs to have some rest.
Thanks,
So
John.
give it time to
I was
digest.
just looking, actually, we've just got it coming up quite a lot. I think quite a lot of people are thinking, well, I know I was, oh, well, I do get my kind of water intake from coffee and tea, but of course you're saying don't drink.
No.
That does not, well, I don't drink anything, and that's really bad. Yeah, awful.
Kelly, can I be honest with you? I got, what really shocked me a few years ago, one of my friend's daughters was doing a survey for school on coffee. And she asked me how many coffees I had a day. I had never thought about it. Now, I used to commute into London every day from Margate. So I'd get up and I'd have a coffee to wake me up, because I always felt sluggish. I'd get a coffee at the station. I'd walk into the office, and the first thing I'd do is get a coffee, because I'd been up for 3 hours and I'm knackered. I'd then, of course, have a coffee during the middle of the day. I'd probably have meetings. I'd drink coffee. After lunch, I'd have a coffee. And then I'd get a coffee on the way home, because I was feeling absolutely, I didn't realize I was probably knocking back 8, 9 plus coffees a day. No wonder I couldn't bloody sleep. Honestly, I was just keeping myself completely wired. I came off coffee. I do drink coffee, but I did a detox. I came off it. Oh my God, honestly, it was awful. It's the most horrible thing coming off caffeine, because it gives you, well, you're going cold turkey off a drug. But now I'm aware of how much, and we do talk about this a lot. Yeah, really think about the amount of caffeine, and and tea doesn't have as much, but it still has caffeine in it. But yeah, that's a big one. But drinking water as well, the headaches and so on and so forth. It's 1 cup of coffee, 2 cups of water.
Yeah, Jen's asked, John, do you do do you just do this with corporate companies, or do you just do it with, or can you do this work with individuals as well on a personal level?
So Questae Collective is corporate. So we work with businesses, but our collective work with businesses and with individuals. So we have, Sophie's a nutritional therapist, but we have 3 other nutritionists that work with us, and yeah, they work privately as well. So if anybody actually wants to get advice from a nutritional point of view privately, then reach out. We'll put you in contact with our nutritionists.
Brilliant, thank you. And
Yeah.
there was just one more, I believe, from John. Or is it? Oh, yes. Right. So you mentioned about the 4 personalities.
Yeah.
I think I know this. I don't think it's such a straightforward question. However, he has asked the question. So yeah, I'll leave that over to you.
Okay. So this is actually this is dressed up in a number of ways. There was an amazing study, called Maslow's hierarchy, which is well worth having a look into. But essentially, if you work with any architectural practice who's looking at an interior or looking at change management from a people point of view, there will be people who are competitive. Now, if you imagine it's a spider's web, okay, we're in the middle and there are 4 sections, okay, and we will all be part of one, but we will dominate some of them, one of them. So we can be competitive, we can be creative, we can be communicative, and we can be collaborative. Okay, so if you imagine you've got someone who is creative and someone who is competitive. Now, creative doesn't mean that they're a designer. It might mean that their way of thinking is creative. Have you ever heard somebody say, yeah, I can see that? That's because they actually create a picture in their mind of something. Or you get somebody who goes the other way and says, yeah, I get that. And that's because they've got a different type of, their brain processes differently. And what happens is you have these 4 competing values that we talk about, and they essentially need different environments in which to function. They also, and that's physical environment, but also mental environment, and the way that you communicate with somebody. So I've been in corporate sales all my civilian life. And, you know, I would want an answer now because my client is shouting at me. And I'd go to one of my colleagues and he'd go, okay, give me all the facts, and then I will consider it and I will come back to you with a solution. You know, and I go, no, we need to do something now. And I'm running around like a Higgins chicken. And all that would happen is this, nothing had actually happened. But once we actually did this personality analysis and looked at each other, I remember looking across the room and he looked at me and we just went, I get it now. Because he needed time to create a picture in his mind of how the process needed to look, where I was just straight
Absolutely.
in.
And also, look, John, I mean, I am a trained counsellor, but when you look at obviously also like where our childhood stems from, you know, how we've all been raised, we've all had, and going back to, you know, our hierarchy, how we've all been raised is so different.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can't to force our opinions or our environment, if you like, onto someone else is you're not going to get the best out of that person, are you? It's about
you're
allowing
right.
space. And you know, I might be somebody that can think, right, yeah, I can see that straight away, whereas somebody else might take 3-4 days to process what I've just said. And who says that's wrong?
No, it's not wrong. You know, yeah, absolutely. And do you know, it's interesting actually. There was I'll give you 2 anecdotes very quickly because I'm conscious of time, but there was one where there was a guy, we did a survey, and one of our clients, the guy, his productivity had really started to dip, and people could actually see that he wasn't enjoying his work anymore. And without going into the whole story of it, what it came down to was a couple of new members of the team did not say please and thank you.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And it really affected him. It really affected him, and it affected the relationship between these people and this guy. And it really upset him physically and mentally, because he couldn't understand why people wouldn't use please and thank you. So simply by changing that, the engagement between these people changed. His productivity levels went up because he then felt valued. So there's a great example of actually just thinking about it from, you know, you talk about mountains. I can climb to a mountain in the Swiss Alps. I can look at the view and go, wow, look at that view. Somebody else can be up a mountain across the valley. They're not seeing the same view as me. They might be seeing the same mountains, but they're not seeing the same view. So it's about putting ourselves into the other person's perspective and actually seeing from their point of view. Another anecdote, something that I experienced myself. I was global sales director for a Danish company. I'm English, so please and thank you is part of my, I'm sorry, oh God, sorry about that, really sorry about that, you know, is part of my culture. I went to Denmark and they don't have a word for sorry, you know, and please and thank you isn't, they might just say tak for thank you, but please doesn't really exist. So it's very, very different culture over there as well. And that took a lot for me to get used to. And when I sat down with the team and we talked about it, we actually did some, we were a global company. So we actually did some personality workshops across the business. And that was very different because then you're talking about different cultures. You're talking about Western culture, you're talking about Middle Eastern culture, you're talking about the Far East as well. So all these different cultures coming together. And it was fascinating that suddenly seeing it from somebody else's perspective, oh, mind blowing, changes everything. And the conversations become so much easier.
Yeah.
Does that answer that? Okay.
Yes, it does.
If anybody has got any other questions, they want deeper, looking at deeper, just drop us an email. We'd be more than happy to engage. Okay, so resilience, let's touch on this. So resilience, our brain is a muscle. It needs flexing, it needs maintaining, needs looking after. It's no different to the muscles in our body. So we need to make our brain strong and fit and healthy. And I'm not talking about doing Sudoku and things like that. This is something completely different. So mental resilience is really important. And these are just some of the tips that we can, I mean, everything I've talked about will help us to build up our resilience, but regular exercise, I touched on it before. We've all had those emotions before going to the gym, can't be bothered. But when you push through, you feel great. You feel energized. You produce those endorphins, the happy drug, the feel good drug. It keeps us alert, energized, but it also helps us to sleep at night. And that's because we've been oxygenating. So we increase our heart rate, we increase our breathing, we oxygenate our blood. The nutrients that we've been eating then get pumped around through our body into our brain, keeps us healthy. And I'll say it again, exercise does not have to be Joe Wicks HIIT workouts or smashing it down at Valentine's. It can be walking to the shop. It can be just going for a mooch about, a bimble about of an evening. You know, get out and walk. And if anybody's got, you know, the iPhone, I'm sure there are other brands available that have got the health thing, you know, anyone's got an iPhone or an iWatch, try and close those rings, set achievable, sustainable goals for steps a day. You know, set yourself 10,000 steps a day or whatever is achievable for yourselves. And actually try, you know, when we talked about earlier, setting some time aside for yourself at lunchtime, make yourself some lunch and then eat it, enjoy it, and then just go for a 5-minute or 10-minute walk. Once you've done 5 minutes out and 5 minutes back, you'll know the route, you'll know the way, and then it'll become regular exercise. You know, mindfulness and stress management. So mindfulness is really important. We talked about meditation, but mindfulness and stress management is something that can be engaged really easily. Whether it's 5 minute, again, you know, chunk out that little bit in the diary, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever you can do. It's so, I can't stress this enough. It's so important for our mental resilience and our own mental fitness, but for our overall well-being as well. Carve out that time for your body and for your mind. What it does is it switches us from that fight or flight mode into rest and digest. So we have two nervous systems, and what we want to engage is our paranervous system, which actually a parasympathetic nervous system is what it's called, and that's the one where we feel relaxed. Now the problem is, because we've been on screens all day, we've been drinking caffeine through coffee all day, we've been eating sugary foods, we've been eating starchy foods. We're hyped by the end of the day and we lie in bed and we're just going, I can't sleep, my brain is, and that is because our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight mode, is still engaged. So we need to bring that down. So mindfulness is a great way of doing it. It's really effective. It gets all the happy hormones flowing and it brings us into the here and the now. And it gets that cortisol down and it moves us into the rest and digest mode. So really, really important to think about that. And I'll go through something if we've got time at the end to do that. But using a guided meditation, watching, do you know what, go back to get your favorite music on, watch your favorite TV show. If you have some sex, have a cuddle, have a kiss, tell somebody you love them, play a game, do a jigsaw, whatever it is, just engage it, or read a book or listen to an audio book. Do something that stops you, and you're in the there, you're in the now. And that will actually get that parasympathetic nervous system engaged and help us to then get good sleep. And they're so important, game changer. Getting a good night's restful sleep has such a positive effect on our brains and our bodies, preparing for sleep. Set up a routine. It took me a long time. I never had a routine until I thought about it. But now my bedroom is my sanctuary. There's no TV in there. So it's a haven for me. It's my space. And I always have the lights on low. I've got a salt lamp in there. I've always got fresh air in there. It's always dark. And I also have an oil burner in there. And I set that up about an hour before I go to bed. And then when I go into my bedroom, I'm ready to rest. And I'll get my book and I read a paper book. And I read the book. I can guarantee you within 10 minutes of reading, it takes me months now to read a book because I just go, that's it. I can feel myself going and I sleep throughout the night. It is an absolute game changer. And that really, those are the tips and those are the tricks. We've talked about the happy hormones of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, the endorphins. We've talked about well-being and resilience, how to think about and be conscious of and mindful of our workspace, of what we're eating, and of our own mental resilience. And that really is it. We've introduced you to Questae. We've looked at what we do, who we do it for, and why. And that really is it. If we have got time, if we haven't, not a problem. But there is a very, very simple little exercise that we could all do just to engage our parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah, I think we can do that, John. Let's have a go. Okay. If anyone needs to leave, then of course you can leave. Just feel free to drop out. You don't need to let me know or let anyone else know. But yeah, if it's like a 5-minute exercise, then you still have time.
There is an entire workshop on breathing. It's such a fascinating subject. A very close friend of mine is a national champion freediver, an incredible woman. She can actually dive down. She holds a British record. She can dive down to 76 meters, which is deeper than the English Channel. So if you put that into context, she can hold her breath for up to 7 minutes on the land. It's just phenomenal. What we've talked about breath work and the way to engage. We talked about relaxing our bodies, getting that parasympathetic nervous system engaged, and breathing is a great way of doing it. This can be done anytime during the day. We've all experienced the email or the phone call that comes in and sets our heart racing. It sets us going. We feel anxious. We get sweaty palms. We get sweaty under the arms, and we just feel shaky. And that is our fight or flight mode being engaged. And there's nothing we can do about it really, because this is we've been around for thousands and thousands of years. And this is when danger used to jump out. A bear would jump out of the woods and we'd go, huh, and we'd leg it. But when we're in an office, the bear is the email or the phone call, but we can't leg it. We're stuck. So what can we do to actually draw back that fight or flight mode and get back into rest or digest? So it can be done anytime during the day. This actually helped me during night. So I could get to sleep, but for a long time, I used to wake up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, anxious sweats, and that would mean me gone. I'd had 2 or 3 hours night sleep, forget it for the rest of the day. Hence the 8 or 9 coffees that I was on. I just could not sleep. I was in such a dark place. This was a game changer because I would wake up at night. I would then engage this breath work exercise and I'd be out like a light. And it's brilliant. So I'm going to take you all through this. Essentially, the breathing exercise, we're going to nose breathe. Really important that we nose breathe. We've got a built-in air filter and air conditioner here in our sinuses, but the air also gets pushed right down into the lower part of our lungs, which is the most important part of our lungs. We're also going to belly breathe, and this sounds really weird. I want anybody to think about a baby and how a baby breathes. You always see the belly going up and down, but we then train ourselves to breathe in through our chest. You know, come on, chest out, you know, stomach in. Well, you know, that's how we've all been brought up for years and years. Well, no, forget it. We don't need chests out and bellies in. Get that belly flopping, you know, and breathe in through the belly. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through our nose for 4 seconds. And then we're going to breathe out for 8 or 6. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. This is really important. So we breathe out slowly. But if you find it uncomfortable, release the breath. Okay, that's really important. So what I want you to do is I want you to put one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. We'll do a couple of tests first. And I just want you to breathe in. Take a nice deep breath. Now I want you to all think where you breathe from. Did you nose breathe? Did you mouth breathe? Did you feel your chest move, or did you feel your belly move? Because what I would like you to do is breathe in for 4 seconds through the nose, but I want you to keep your chest absolutely still. And I want you to breathe in with your belly. So when you breathe in, your belly will push out. Okay, so try that. Breathe in. Has everybody got the nose breathing and the belly breathing? Okay, so what we're going to do now, doing the same thing, we're going to breathe in for 4 and then out for 8. If you need to take 6 or less, take 6 or less. Okay, so I'll count you through. So close your eyes maybe, and then we're going to go in, 2, 3, 4, and then out through the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In for 4, 2, 3, 4. Out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's deep diaphragmatic breathing. What you're doing is you're actually taking the oxygenate the air right down into your lower part of your lungs, and that's then dispersing all that oxygen throughout the body system. And whenever you're feeling stressed, it's really interesting. If you take your heart rate, or if you've got heart rate monitor, just sit down, get yourself into a comfortable position, have a look at your heart rate, engage into this exercise, and then read your heart rate again. I can absolutely guarantee it'll go down. If you try that 6 times at night, you'll be out like a light, because your body will be so relaxed. It's it's a great way of getting off to sleep. But that engages the parasympathetic nervous system. So when that bear jumps out of the woods, the phone call or the email, or you're just sometimes, you know, if anybody suffers from anxiety and you start to get that, you don't know where it's come from, but you start to get that, you can feel it, engage into this breathing exercise and it will bring you right back down. There we are.
Fantastic, John. That's been really, really informative. And I know it sounds, you know, but actually so informative, because sometimes we can overcomplicate things like this as humans, and actually to see it in its basic form, you know, which it is just so beneficial, because as I said, we try and overcomplicate things, which actually sometimes just taking it right back to its roots is exactly what we need.
I think you're right. I mean, I described it the other week actually as I don't know if anybody's, you know, familiar with the game Buckaroo, but I think life feels a little bit like Buckaroo. Buckaroo is the game where you got the donkey and you're hanging little things on the donkey, and then eventually you hang the wrong thing on him. Or another one would be Jenga. If anyone's played Jenga, you pull the thing out, the whole thing crashes down. that's what happened to my life. Absolutely just felt like it fell apart catastrophically. I've never visited such a dark space, you know, and it was absolutely horrendous. And it was through pushing myself to accept that this wasn't right, and finding all these resources and these amazing people that are now part of our collective, and just learning. And I have just taken all this and put it into this toolkit, you know, and I suffer from depression. I haven't been depressed for yonks, but I do suffer from depression. So I understand when it's creeping up, and I know what to do to help me. And the challenge is, I didn't know any of this before. I didn't know any of it. So I wasn't helping myself. So I was like Buckaroo. I was like Jenga. It was just piling up, piling up, piling up, piling up. And then eventually, bang, everything just went to rat shit. And it was just horrendous. But we're just guiding people now to build up their own mental resilience toolkits, helping them to understand all those different elements of life. That you're absolutely right, Kelly. You know, there's so much we miss, or we just take for granted, or we call things common sense. And if we don't know it, we go, God, I don't want to ask. It's common sense. None of this is common sense, because if it was common, everyone would know it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you ever so much. I'm aware of the time, and of course we're all busy people, and the breathing techniques were like so valuable to take away, and such a basic tool, you know, just for people to learn. And if anyone does have any, you know, personal questions or private, or you want to look at what John and Questae Collective offer, then please do contact. Obviously the details are there. Thank you all so much for coming. It's been a pleasure to see you all. We have got business talks this Thursday, 10:30 till 12. Please do come to that. That's when I will be well, you know, we're all here again, but we will be networking, and trying to raise your profiles and get you speaking to like-minded business people. So please do come to that. And once again, thank you, John. It's been really informative.
My absolute pleasure.
I wish everyone a lovely day. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank